They never said sorry. Not once. They didn't deny what happened, and they didn't explain it either. They simply continued as if nothing needed to be addressed. Conversations went on. Plans were made. Life moved forward, and that was the part that hurt the most. Not the moment itself, but the ease with which it was left behind, as if it never mattered enough to acknowledge. It wasn't a dramatic event. There was no shouting, no argument, just a moment where something crossed a line. She noticed it immediately. So did they. There was a pause, a brief space where an apology could have changed everything. A simple acknowledgement could have softened the impact. But the moment passed, and the silence settled in its place. After that, they acted normal, friendly, casual, unbothered. They talked about other things and made future plans. With every ordinary interaction, the message became clearer. Whatever had happened wasn't going to be discussed. It wasn't going to be named. And pretending it didn't exist became easier than facing it directly. Others told her to let it go. They probably didn't mean it. It's not worth reopening. They've already moved on. As if moving on was proof that nothing wrong had occurred. As if silence erased responsibility. Slowly, the pressure shifted away from those who caused the harm and landed on the person who remembered it. She replayed the moment in her head. Was it really that bad? Should she bring it up? Was she overthinking it? The lack of an apology created doubt, not because she was wrong, but because nothing had been confirmed. Silence leaves too much room for self-blame, and unanswered moments tend to grow heavier over time. An apology doesn't just say, "I'm sorry." It says, "I see what happened." It says, "I acknowledge your experience." It says, "I take responsibility." Without those words, the hurt feels unfinished, like a sentence without an ending. And unfinished things linger far longer than painful ones that are acknowledged and addressed. They moved on easily because nothing was required of them. No reflection, no discomfort, no accountability. Moving on is simple when you're not carrying the weight of what happened. For her, the moment stayed present, resurfacing in quiet ways, while everyone else treated it as something already resolved. Over time, something shifted, not in them, but in her. She stopped waiting, stopped hoping they would suddenly realize something on their own. She began to understand that some people don't apologize because they don't want to revisit who they were in that moment, and avoidance often feels safer than honesty. Acceptance didn't arrive with relief, it arrived with clarity. She realized she didn't need an apology to know what happened mattered. But she did need to stop pretending that silence was the same as peace. Silence can look calm on the surface while still carrying unresolved weight beneath it. They never apologized, and they probably never will. But she learned something important. Healing doesn't always come from hearing the words you deserve. Sometimes it comes from deciding not to wait for them anymore. From choosing to release yourself from the pause that someone else left behind. Letting go didn't mean forgetting. It meant understanding the limits of what others were willing to give. It meant accepting that closure isn't always mutual. Sometimes it's a decision you make quietly, without agreement, and without acknowledgement from the people involved. She stopped expecting accountability from those who avoided it, not because it didn't matter, but because waiting for it kept her stuck. Clarity replaced hope. And while that clarity was uncomfortable, it was also freeing. It allowed her to move forward without carrying unanswered questions with her. The absence of an apology taught her something unexpected. That validation doesn't always come from others. Sometimes it comes from trusting your own experience, even when it's ignored. Especially when it's ignored. Silence doesn't define what mattered. Awareness does. They moved on as if nothing had happened, and she let them. Not because it was easy, but because holding on to the silence no longer served her. She understood that waiting for words that would never come only prolonged the hurt. Letting go was quieter than confrontation, but stronger than waiting. Some people never apologize. They don't reflect, and they don't look back. They just continue forward. And when that happens, you're left with a choice. Carry the silence with them or set it down yourself. Healing often begins when you choose not to carry what isn't yours. They never apologized. They just moved on. And in the end, she learned that closure doesn't always arrive as words. Sometimes it arrives as a decision, a quiet moment where you stop waiting for acknowledgement and start giving yourself permission to move forward without it.